Hey, Tom here from the Run Testers. Today we're going to be looking at the new On Cloudflow. Now this is an upgrade to the older model of the Cloudflow that came out a few years ago, and it's had a number of modifications made to it. Myself, Kieran and Nick will be running through our own individual views of the shoe and seeing how it compares with the other ones on the market at the moment.
Today we're going to be looking at the On Cloudflow running shoe. This is kind of an all-rounder running shoe, recently released, a recent update to the line, even though the name hasn't changed. It's called the On Cloudflow. There's no On Cloudflow 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just the latest generation of the shoe.
So for me, the Cloudflow sits somewhere between the kind of like the Cloud Flash and the Cloud X. You know, this is a lightweight shoe for performance in training and on race day. And yeah, it's fairly lightweight, and there's, it's definitely up at the sort of more minimal lightweight end of Cloud's range of shoes.
So first look at how I tested it. We used the shoe for a couple of weeks for a whole range of running, because this is an all-rounder running shoe, so it's really aimed kind of for both all your training and your racing. So it's got the kind of cushioning, that means you can use it for easy runs, but also it's got a lightweight, quite responsive ride, so you could race in it even. So I used it for everything as a result. So I did some progression long runs, finishing around 6-minute mile pace, did 10K, averaging around 3.5 minutes per K, and then a lot of easy running as well, just to see how it held up for that.
Now, I have been running with this for, probably about 6 weeks, and I've put in a lot of different miles in it. I've done some fast track work, I've done some sort of 10Ks, and up to around the 11, 12 mile mark. I haven't gone beyond that. And I've done that mainly on road, although you'll see there's some mud on this, so I've nipped into the parks for a bit as well.
So I've been using the Cloudflow for anything from 5K, 10K road races to training runs up to about half marathon distance.
Looking at the fit, the shoe fits true to size for me, and the upper's really comfortable, really nice. The laces get you a nice tight lockdown fit, but without putting too much pressure on the bridge of the foot. And there's a decent amount of padding around here, but not too much. They want to keep, On Tool trying to keep this quite light. In terms of weight, it's quite a lightweight shoe. It's kind of around 230, something like that, I think, for a men's. It runs quite light. I have no problems in terms of weight. It's not a stripped back as an all-out racer, but it's not heavy at all, and you're not really going to notice it like weighing you down at any point in your runs.
So design-wise, I really like the Cloudflow. It's a lightweight, comfortable, supportive shoe that I tend to use if I'm heading out for a training run, if I'm going to do a race that I'm not particularly bothered about, but I want to get an okay time. And yeah, it's an all-round really nice piece of kit.
Comes to the ride, On have used their Helion foam in the shoe, which is the first time it's been added to the Cloudflow, and it's a bit softer than the traditional On cushioning. I generally find On shoes a little bit firm for my taste. I think they're good for like fast running and racing, but I think with this Helion foam, this actually is much nicer for your easy running in particular. I didn't feel like it was slapping the ground, which I've had with past On shoes, and like on easy runs, I really felt like I was getting the cushioning I wanted, rather than just a really fast ride. But it is still pretty responsive. It, heel to toe, pretty snappy. It's not like an explosive toe off, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely a shoe you can use for fast running. So I'm pretty impressed by the ride all round. It's kind of soft, but it's still got that pace there when you want it.
Now, really, I guess the main thing here to talk about is the new Cloud Tech, the new sort of materials that have been used for the Cloud Tech out on the outside here, which is supposed to be more responsive and give you better energy return. One thing about there's a slightly stiffer sort of speed board in these shoes as well, and as you can see, there's not a huge amount of bend, but there's a decent amount of spring. They do feel fast and they do feel light. I can't honestly say that I have noticed a huge amount of difference in those Cloud Techs compared to other ones that I've tested before. It doesn't feel more propulsive to me anyway.
I was actually a fairly big fan of the original Cloudflow, although I did have a few issues with it. One of those was the fact that the sole was really hard, and when running with it, I found that my feet were kind of clopping across the floor quite hard, and didn't feel like it had a lot of support in it. The new Cloudflow uses the Helion foam that On have been putting in quite a lot of its shoes recently, and that offers a little bit more give. It's a lot softer, and it's a massive improvement on the previous Cloudflow.
Now, what I've found from the Cloudflow, for me, I've actually got quite big, wide, sort of fat, tall, fat feet. And I've said it in other videos, I'm the fat-footed one in the run testers. And when I first tried these out at the launch, I found them actually quite comfortable and they sort of disappeared. But over time, as I've been running more and more in them, one thing I have noticed is as you move here between this kind of mid-foot upper into the toe box, across the top here, this bit, and you can almost see it sort of stretched a bit in the fabric there. This bit is really, really narrow for me and tight. And it actually makes these shoes over the long run feel a little bit uncomfortable. There's like a pinch point where it grips too small. Now, this is a UK 8.5, so that's what I would normally run in. And that's my size. So I don't know if that changes if I go maybe up a half size. You know, what On did mention is there is a new lacing structure here. There's a new lacing pattern which is supposed to help with the lockdown to hold the foot in place, and perhaps that lacing structure just doesn't agree with me because of my big feet.
So some features that I like about this shoe, it has this nice little lace loop, which I only found out after about 50k, where you'll notice here that the laces are actually quite long, they're quite thin as well, and you have to tighten them properly so they don't drag on the floor. This lace loop means that you can just stick the laces under there and they stay out of the way. It's a nice little feature which you might not know about. The updated version also has a slightly thinner kind of ridge section down here. So one of the major issues that you'll find with On shoes is that they trap debris, rocks, wood. This is slightly thinner, so it happens less. Doesn't stop it, it happens less. The Helion foam is a lot softer than the previous model, and another issue that we noticed with the earlier model is that the lower section wasn't very grippy, so when you were running on wet ground, wet tarmac, it wasn't great. They've upgraded that a bit to add a bit more grip on it. It's still not perfect. I probably wouldn't risk running these in pretty tough conditions, but it's an improvement, and it's fine unless you're in wet, tricky conditions.
Grip-wise, I've had problems with On in the past on icy roads, and I kind of still feel it's not brilliant. When you're on icy pavements, I mean, lots of shoes struggle, but actually other options are better out there. Like Adidas's line of shoes with the kind of continental rubber on the bottom is a bit better at gripping in the ice, I find. I didn't fall over, but I wouldn't be comfortable going hell for leather at like park run at 9 AM in the winter when, you know, the tarmac you're on is probably quite icy. So I'm not massively impressed with the grip. Durability, also I've only used these for 80 odd K, and there's no sign of any wear and tear. I mean, in the past I found if you've used On shoes with these pods kind of on any kind of off-road trail, they can rip up a bit, but I've only used this on tarmac and there's no signs of any durability concerns this far into the life of the shoe.
So where normally I would find On's uppers super comfortable, and you know, I think, you know, there's a lot of comfort around the heel, and that's kind of textbook On. I think on the sides they sort of cradle the foot nicely. There is a little bit of taping here, which gives a decent amount of support, as much as I need anyway. But outside of that, I've found those uppers a little bit more uncomfortable than I usually would in an On shoe. Sorry, I was just looking at the bottom because on durability as well, I can see even on a month's running, one of these clouds is already peeling away. And that's one thing I've had with sort of on shoes. There's a little bit of durability issues sometimes, and I know that's something that other people have had as well in the past. So that's also one thing to watch here. One thing that I do like, it's better but not infallible, is that there is less space between the clouds. This ridge here is a stone gatherer though still, and that is another thing which I know one can't get away from this. This is their technology. They've got clouds on the bottom, but I've got a stony driveway. If you've got one, I bring all the stones in the house, and it is constantly annoying when I wear Ons, and that, you know, it's a small thing, but it does frustrate.
Say what they're best for, it really is an all-rounder shoe. Like their absolute top end pace isn't phenomenal. Like I did that progression 10K, last few Ks I kind of maybe was wanting a little bit more kick from my shoe, like maybe something lighter like an Adios Racer or a Nike Racer. But you can run quick in them, so they're great for tempo runs. Probably wouldn't take them down the track, but even there, they wouldn't really be bad for the track. Similarly, the very top end of easy running, when you're really going out for slow recovery miles, you might want a more cushioned shoe, but these are fine. Like I did really long, slow run in them, and they felt great. So I'd say they're definitely really fit the bill as an all-rounder, as on have tried to make them. Maybe you go 5K, you might want something slightly faster, but for longer races, I think that'd be a good option, definitely.
So what would I use this for? It's just a great all-round shoe. I wouldn't say it's the best racing shoe out there, but it is a racing shoe. You can use it to race in. I've used it for many events where I've maybe not really been aiming for a PB, but I wanted to get a good time and didn't want to use maybe my Nike's Pegasus or something like that. But it is a great race shoe. It's also a really nice training shoe. I probably wouldn't use it for longer distance runs. So training half marathon and over, I'd want something with a little bit more support, a little bit more cushioning. But all in all, it's a great all-round shoe that if you've got this, you can pretty much do any distance in it and be perfectly happy using it.
In my lineup of shoes, how would I use these? I actually think that maybe I would take these to the track, which is a place where I want to, if I want to do sort of a shorter interval, faster sort of 10K and below, that I might pop these on because they have that kind of feel to me. Then they're obviously not designed to be, they're not track spikes or whatever, but actually if you're looking for a shoe that can cross over a bit from track to road 10Ks, then I think they've got a place there.
In terms of what they compare to, I'd say one of my favourite new shoes of the year is the Hoka Rincon, which is another all-rounder lightweight. It's got a lot more cushioning, but it still feels quite firm and snappy. I think I've used both shoes similarly, and I don't know, I might lean slightly towards the Hoka, but it's a complete toss-up. They're both fairly similar price. I think the Hoka might be slightly cheaper, so maybe that would take into account. But then the Hoka's got exposed rubber on its outsole, and that might lead to durability concerns for the Rincon compared to the Cloudflow. So that's probably the main comparison I have. Is also, if you are looking for something like an all-round that's maybe slightly faster, the New Balance Rebel isn't as soft as this. It wouldn't be as good for easy running, but at that higher end of your all-rounder, so the kind of more racy end, it would be a bit better, a bit quicker, I think, for like 5K races. And a good kind of all-rounder that I think is really underrated is the Brooks Launch 6, which is just a really there's no real standout feature to it. It's just a great, reliable shoe for all your running, and I think it's quite quick as well. It's got a similarly firm level of ride to the On Cloudflow. So in terms of what I really liked about the shoe, I like the fact the ride's a bit softer than in past On shoes. This really is an all-rounder now that I would use for easy running, but you can still go quick in it. So I think they've kind of nailed the ride of it there. In terms of what I didn't like, there's not a lot to say I don't like. I mean, the grip's not fantastic, but that's fine. It's a road shoe. Wouldn't expect anything too outstanding there. And I say, yeah, it probably lacks a little bit of a kick at your top end paces. But again, it's an all-rounder shoe. If you're really serious about your 5K and your track work, you're going to want a specialist shoe for that. And I don't think the Cloudflow can be blamed for not being superbly quick at that end.
I honestly, if you're looking at going for a marathon and racing in a marathon in a pair of shoes, I just can't see that these would replace something like the Nike Vaporflies for me. Or the Next Percent. I just can't see that happening. So I don't know. I just think not remarkable is my overall take. I don't think they're a remarkable shoe, and yeah, that's really my takeout.
Summary, I'd say this is one of my favourite new all-rounders on the market with the Hoka Rincon. I'd say both of these shoes, they're great. You can use them for all your running. I think most people don't have like this rotation of shoes like I do, like for everything. But so if you just want one shoe that can handle your quick runs, but is just about cushioned enough for really slow, easy runs, I'd say the Cloudflow is right up there as one of the best on the market right now. Also, pretty nice looking shoe when it's not covered in mud, so that's good as well. Anyway, thanks very much. Like and subscribe.